record to this computer.
Yeah. Recording.
Yeah, it's recording in
Yep.
progress.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we're done, because again, that's the kind of professional I am, just email it to me,
Absolutely.
please.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks. So I can post it. Thanks. I appreciate that. I don't know if this is gonna start over now. But Eddie Brnabic, Hippie Death Cult, thank you again for taking the time either way.
Yeah, thank you for having me, brother.
It's nice to talk.
Yeah.
Tell me about producing Circle of Days, and especially producing Circle of Days after doing 111.
Okay, well, yeah, it was, I guess the difference between this and the last was the first album we kind of did really quickly. It was done like, I want to say a few months into being a band. We had just formed and we just wanted to make some demos so that we could do some gigs, just to get, do some gigs. And we put some things up on YouTube and got some attention, and the label wanted to put that out as the record. So those demos, those first ever demos, are like the first record, whereas this time we had a little more time to develop the songs as a band, and more time to record and all that kind of stuff, especially because of the lockdown.
Yeah, I heard something about that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it just so happened that timing when all that was going down was when we had planned to start recording this record anyways, so we were going to do it weaving between tours and stuff, but just this opened it up so that we had much more time, because nobody was able to work and all that kind of stuff. And for the most part, I mean, we did take it, it was like a couple months, where we didn't see each other or whatever, but yeah, by that time everybody kind of knew what they were doing. So it was kind of just me with everybody, everybody coming in to do their parts, and then me, just making sure everybody was sounding great and playing their best and whatnot, but
so
yeah.
when did the writing actually start then?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, it was kind of like a thing where we just added it into our practices for doing shows. It wasn't like, okay, we're doing a new record pre-production. Okay. That's our sole focus kind of thing. It became that way closer to when we were recording, but for the most part, a lot of the stuff was written, just throughout our time, some of it was written even before the band had started, like demos that I had that I was pitching to the band and stuff. Some of them were part of those first batch of like the first album was kind of like that, was me pitching at least like the instrumental stuff to the band. There were demos that I had done where I played all the instruments and whatever, and just kind of had a template for everybody. So that's kind of how things really get moving for us, is when I do one of those things. I do one of those demos where I do just a structure, like a working structure, and then everybody's like, oh, let's change this and do that, and everybody does their thing to it,
right?
But
everybody messes with your shit. No, you can say it. It's okay. You can be honest
in the best.
You can be honest
in the best way. Yeah.
But
but yeah, we'll jam on stuff. Like I'll bring riffs and stuff to practice, and we'll jam on things. But like the songs don't really get done until I do one of those like little demo things and send it to everybody, and then it's like, okay, we hear like the song in there, what we're gonna do with it and whatnot. So yeah, that's kind of how it goes.
So having sort of had the extra time one way or the other with the material,
yeah,
how do you feel about the first record? If that was done sort of the opposite, right? If it's like get it done, here it is, all of a sudden it's an album that you weren't even thinking of as an album.
Totally. I mean, for me personally, I had more time with the songs than everybody else in the band, because I had been working on them for a while, trying to put the band together and whatnot. But if you ask everybody else, like they're not as happy with that, because they've developed some of their parts, after the fact, you know what I mean? And they listen to it and they're like, fuck, I didn't do this cool little thing that, but, but for me personally, I listen to it and I love it. I mean, even just for what it is, sometimes you just capture something really cool, whether it's a demo or unfinished or whatever, I like it. People seem to like it. So I feel good about it, looking back personally,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's certainly got a great response, as has Circle of Days for that matter. But that's interesting because one of the things that stands out to me in listening to Circle of Days is how it has kind of more this. I don't want to say it's moodier, but it kind of is moodier.
Sure.
It's also, it's a different kind of atmosphere. It feels more dug in. So the fact that the songs kind of were right as they were coming together makes a weird kind of sense. Can you tell me about the title track? Can you tell me about writing the title track? Was that on your own? How did everyone flesh that out, and how it all came together in the end?
Yeah, just that same type of process I was talking about earlier, where first I was bringing those different riffs and pieces that as they were coming to me and playing them at practice, and we would jam on them and try to find the groove or whatnot. But yeah, nothing was happening as far as actually getting the song done until I just said, fuck it, I'm going to do one of my demo things. And I didn't know going in exactly what the structure was going to be, but I was just going to do a structure and see what happens, and so yeah, I just did that. And then that's when that little end, like there's that whole end jam part that happens at the end. That's when that kind of came out, was when I was doing that. It was like spontaneous. That little riff came out, and I think it added like an extra 5 minutes to the song or something like that. But I mean, when we were jamming on it, like at first it was like a 15-minute song, or something. But yeah, and then when I gave that demo to everybody, then everybody kind of saw, oh, okay, cool. And and everybody did their thing. Ryan came in and came up with his own parts, and Laura, everybody did their own thing to it, and that's what makes it what it is. But yeah, that's pretty much how it happened. I did a demo and sent it to everybody, and we fucking hashed it out. Yeah.
Specifically interested in the pairing of Circle of Days and Eye in the Sky on the back end of the album.
Yeah.
It's 3 on one side and 2 on the other, right? So
yeah,
you got, I don't know how to tell you this, you got some long songs,
right?
But
yeah,
but just in terms of the atmosphere of the record, those 2 9+ minute tracks back to back, it's such a kind of defining moment for the album sound. It
totally. Yeah,
math, I guess, in runtime and sort of in atmosphere. How did you guys decide to put those together, and what were you going for in doing that?
Well, it was kind of spontaneous. It was at the end of recording. We didn't have a sequence in mind going into it, and we recorded even the 2 songs that ended up on the Doom Sessions release that came out. Like those were all recorded together, and we thought that was the record, but then we realized, shit, we have it's a lot of music. It's not going to fit on a vinyl, you know what I mean?
Right.
Unless we did like a double record or something. So it was at that point that we had to decide, okay, how should we sequence it? Are we going to put it all up together or separate them and all that kind of stuff? And when I just, again, it was something I pitched to the band, because those songs, they're in the same key. They're in the key of E. They're both really long. The time wise, as far as how they would fit on a side of record, was perfect. Also, it's got that, it ends with that tempura drone at the end of 3 days, and then it begins with the tempura drone into Eye in the Sky. So it just to me, in my mind, it just seemed like the thing to do, and everybody thought it was cool. So that's how it happened. Yeah, I think on the cassette tape, it runs, that tempura drone just runs straight without any break to separate it, just to do something a little different for the cassette.
And then the format wars are garbage.
Yeah,
in my mind.
Yeah.
I every format has something to offer.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I like tapes.
Yeah.
It's an aesthetic.
Well, I grew up on fucking tapes. I'm sure you did too,
Absolutely.
My fucking jam, so it's got a nostalgic thing. It's got a special sound to it,
That's it.
Yeah.
People get mad about that shit.
Really, huh?
Yeah, man. It's like a big deal. It's like, oh, fuck CDs. It's like, yeah, man, fuck that shit, except it's cheap and you can get it made where you're waiting a year and a half for your vinyl right now.
Right, totally.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. That's fine.
They're all great. Yeah.
So the Doom Sessions tracks were done at the same time. That was a question I had. And what about those didn't fit for you?
I wouldn't say that they didn't fit or anything. I mean, like when we were recording everything, that was our statement. Like all of those songs collectively was our like statement coming out. Because there's like, there's bits and different things about each song. They're not all the same type of thing and vibe, and you know what I mean? So we kind of all of those to be present. I did feel like some of the elements from those 2 tracks on the Doom Sessions did make it onto the record in different songs, and so
how so?
Well, like, there was this like this thrashy, crazy element that we were bringing to this record with Fill the Fires and Hornet Party. So I felt like Hornet Party had some of that, that Fill the Fires had, and Eye in the Sky. I mean, like with the moodier, mellow intro kind of thing, that we had like in Towards Infinity, I felt like, Eye in the Sky kind of had it too. It wasn't like they're not the same, but it was like the same type of thing,
served a similar
function. Yeah. And it was a lot to do with more just like the length of the songs and how it would all fit on a vinyl, you know what I mean? And what songs, if we cut, would fill a side for a split, you know what I mean? And fit on a record, So yeah, it was tough. It wasn't like those songs didn't make the record or we feel like those songs are any lesser or anything. It's
well, they didn't make the record.
Yeah, but well, it wasn't like I guess technically but it wasn't because we felt like they weren't good enough. It was just we just wanted to split it up, and we were happy that they were all still going to kind of come out around the same time and get represented. And there might be like a release down the road, like a special thing that's got those as bonus tracks or something like that,
Again, something else CDs are good for.
Yeah.
And tapes.
Yes.
But would you ever do a double album?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, why not? I mean, our song, we have a lot of long songs, and that's probably going to happen at some point.
And eventually, eventually, one of those songs will hit 15 minutes. And yeah. If not 4 or 5 of them hit it.
Yeah, like I said, we had to tone down some of these songs to be able to make them just down to 10 minutes or whatever they ended up. You know what I mean? So, it's a different, in this age, it's the attention span thing. But in this genre though, it seems like people have, people that really get into it, they get it, like they have the attention span to sit for a 10-15 minute song if they like it and they're into it. That's part of this whole thing. So yeah,
it's true. You can get away with the long song.
Yeah.
In
this
heavy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell me about the Rooftop Show.
Yeah, that was really fun. And it kind of came together super last second because we were supposed to have our record release, show that weekend at the Star Theater here in Portland. But it was like, since we booked it, we knew there was going to be a chance it might not happen with all the restrictions going up and down and everything. But at the time we booked it, I think the restrictions were allowing like 150 people or something like that. And we were like, all right, well, let's do it. And it sold out like instantly. And then they added a second night and then that sold out right away. And we were all really excited. It was our first show in over a year and all that kind of thing. And we put a lot of time into getting ready for it too, and then finding out like the last hour, like a few days before, that it was not going to happen because the governor had just put heavier restrictions on us. We were bummed, and it was like the rainiest week too, out of nowhere. We had like summer weather for a while, then all of a sudden it was nothing but rain. I think Laura had the idea like, why don't we play on the fucking rooftop, at a rehearsal spot here? And I was like, well, if it's not raining or cold, because otherwise how the fuck are we going to pull it off? But that decided to do it that Saturday. And literally that Saturday was the only day that it didn't rain that week. It was fucking clear and like 70 degrees just that fucking day.
Looked like a nice day. Yeah.
Killer. And we just kind of put out like, last minute on social media to all our fans, like we're not gonna be able to play at the Star, but come down, free show. You can do social distance. It was like, where we practice, it's like under the Hawthorne Bridge here in Portland. So like you could be up on the bridge or you could be below on the street, and like there was tons of space for everybody. And I don't know how many people showed up, like 100 and something. I don't know. It was a lot of people. And we've set up a merch van on the street, and sold. Everybody's walking around with the new record in their hand, and shirts. And it was fucking really fun and really cool. And yeah, we just played the whole fucking record and almost the whole record of 111 as well. And I think we played an hour and a half or something like that. It was a full-on concert,
It's a good set. And you closed with Fairies Wear Boots.
Yes. Yeah. We threw that in there. That's been like, a staple for us because that was something we also recorded during the 111 sessions. That one that came out on the Magnetic Eye release, that was also recorded, one part of that first batch that we recorded, because when Ben joined the band, like, well, when we first met him, like his first audition, that's what we played, was like to kind of gel and see how we sounded together, was Fairies Wear Boots. So it was kind of the first song we'd ever played as a band together. So it's kind of a special thing. And since then we've had a hard fucking time all agreeing on another cover to do, so that's the one that we've been able to do where everybody's into it. So
right.
Yeah.
But that's a pretty universal pick. I mean, you're not going to get a lot of dissent on that, right? Yeah,
totally.
It's fair. That building that you're on top of, so that's your rehearsal space?
Yeah. There's like a bunch of rehearsal spaces in there. It's like this historic old cement building there. It's really cool. And yeah, it's an awesome space.
Yeah, it had a nice balcony, I guess.
Yeah.
That's that it's fortunate you were able to do that. Of course, it sucks the release shows got canceled. You're doing West Coast tour dates though.
Yeah,
that are gonna happen next month.
That's what we're hoping. I mean, everybody, it's on with everybody. I mean, you keep hearing things though, that are like restrictions are raising again in certain areas again and stuff. So there's no guarantees, but as far as we know right now, it's all happening,
And Psycho as part of that.
Psycho, yeah, we're super excited about that. We got invited to go, I think in 2020, which obviously didn't happen, but they kept us on. So yeah, hopefully it happens.
Yeah. Hopefully something happens.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned before, the months you guys had to be separate and everything.
Yeah.
It seems to me that this album coming out, I guess, what was it, May came out?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm terrible with release dates. I'm terrible. Release dates, technology, the list goes on. Generally. But so the album comes out in May. The timing there kind of works out. Was there a point at which you were like, maybe we don't do like the get it out and try and get on tour thing,
right?
You said before it just kind of worked out. Was there a point at which you realized, like, tell me about realizing that there was no rush?
Well, like as far as recording the record or as far as releasing it?
Yeah, as far as recording the record, and how did the actual recording go, if you're
well
distant?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, like, so basically, during that time we had, I don't know if it was a couple months or whatever, where everybody was just locked in their house. We did do a song, Ben pitched, he wanted to do that song Seasons, the Chris Cornell song, and he threw that at me and I learned it, and we kind of did that in our home studios or whatever to kind of to do something, and that turned out really cool. And then it came time where at least the three of us, Laura, Ryan, and I, were starting to jam again and just get ready to record, like let's get back in shape to record type of thing, because it had been a couple of months off. And then when we felt like, okay, let's do this, it's time. We went in and everybody, I came in, Laura and I played with Ryan live while he recorded most of the drums. Some of it was to click, most of it was not. We just did it, and so they were kind of scratch tracks, Laura and I, and then, we captured the drums, and then Laura came in and we spent time, getting the bass all killer. And then I spent all the time I wanted on the guitars, which was really fun. I spent more time like just fucking with sounds than I did actually doing takes. You know what I mean? I was just, I think I spent like 2 weeks because I would just go in like, I had nothing else to do but go in, and nobody else was in the building. We recorded it in our rehearsal space,
Okay.
and there was no bleed or anything because nobody was there, so I would just, I would sit there, fucking smoke weed all day and patch pedals and try this pedal with that pedal or no pedal going straight into the amp or whatever, just like combinations that I thought sounded cool. And then by the end of the day, when I found the sound, then I did a few takes, and that was kind of how I did the guitars, and that was really fun. And then, yeah, and then had Ben come in. So it was for the most part, we were kind of able to keep distance and whatnot. It was usually just me one-on-one for the most part. I mean, I live with Laura, obviously we're married. So,
so that's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's in the pod is what you're saying.
Totally.
Yeah. She's in the quarantine pod. That's good.
And then Ryan kind of became part of our pod as well, because we wanted to keep going, with playing, and we started working on the stuff, at least instrumentally for the next record during this whole time also, once we started jamming again. So yeah, that's kind of how it went. Then we had, had Ben come in and we made a, vocal booth in there for him. And it was a great process. Everybody felt good doing it. Everybody felt good with the end result, and then I just went to mix, and then I took my time mixing as well. I put a lot of work into it. And that's kind of like a blessing and a curse when you're mixing your own stuff, because you can listen to it and think it's great, and then, oh, I could fix this little thing. You can never. I could have mixed it for fucking 3 years.
Yeah, it could be endless. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then also, sending it to everybody in the band and you want to make everybody happy as much as you can, which it's impossible. But of course, Ryan's like, the drums got to be louder than everything, and it's like, everybody, but I want everybody to be heard. That is my goal too. Like, it's not like this band is not like a one focal point like thing. It's like everybody's kind of up front, kind of doing a lead type of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I spent my time, took my time, mixing, and it just making sure everybody was present in the mix and it sounded, fucking good. And then, it was, talking with Gabe and the label and trying to figure out when the best time to release it was. And I mean, even at the time we were planning the release for May, we didn't know or even think that we'd be able to do shows by that point.
Right.
It was like, do we want to sit on this thing or just put it out and start working on the next one or whatever, and I was thinking like I don't know, with art and music, I feel like you have to kind of get it out while it's hot, kind of, you know what I mean? Because like you're riding this wave, you're tapping into this thing that we're all tapping into, you know what I mean? And I feel like if you let it go too long, somebody else is going to come and tap into that thing and put it out, or you know what I mean? Like there's that, you know what I'm talking about. And like, there's that. And also like by the next record, we're going to want to play the new shit. Like we're going to, you know what I mean? Let's just put this thing out basically, and then it just so happened that like shows were starting to come again at the time that we put it out. So
right.
We got kind of lucky, but yeah, we just decided, fuck it. Let's do it. Like we handed it in time. I don't know, it was 4 or 5 months ahead of time, because the vinyl production and also to do like, to plan out the release with all the press and whatnot and all that kind of thing. We wanted to do all that properly and did the best we could, like I did with the first one. But this one I knew a little bit more and I had a lot more help this time, because the first record I was new to all of that shit. I didn't have relationships with people like you, or like, what I mean? I was new to all that press stuff and all of that,
Mhm.
and had to learn and do all of that shit. And that was like a full-time job in itself, holy shit. But yeah, having the help of Heavy Psych, and they have a press team too that's also helping with that stuff, and all that was great. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much, we kind of got it out as quick as we could, but like I said, we took our time recording and mixing and whatnot,
Mm.
yeah.
Is there a balance to be struck, do you think, between sort of that lightning in the bottle demo as album and full on digging and spending the day getting that guitar sound
Yeah.
for the one take?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there is, man. And like at the end of the day, I would lean more towards just doing it and the lightning in the bottle thing,
Mhm.
even if in your mind it's not perfect, other people don't seem to hear it like that. You know what I mean? And that's, at the end of the day, it's what people hear and what they like. You know what I mean? Yeah, and I'll say, just even in my own personal history, like of recording songs and working on things, like the things that I just did in the moment as they were coming to me and just fucking did it, I always go back to and listen to and enjoy more than the things I've over fucking produced or like spent too
Mm.
much time on. You know what I mean? And I feel like with this record, it was a good balance. Like we did spend a little more time, than obviously than the first record, but it wasn't like insane. It was like, I think it was a pretty good balance. I
You
mean,
didn't get tired of it by the time you were done.
no, I mean, yeah, like I
That's
said, take wise, what we didn't do 1,000 takes. It was
yeah.
like Ryan did maybe like 2 takes of each song on the drums and pick the best one, kind of thing. And it was the same for everybody. We all only did maybe a take or 2 or maybe 3,
Mhm.
and pick the best, kind of thing. So yeah, I don't feel like we overdid it. And I'm not a huge fan of that. Yeah, beating it to death and and it sounding perfect,
Right. Right.
um, so
Well, that's it. You said before, because people don't hear it that way, right? I mean, think about your relationship to your own music as opposed to your relationship to someone else's, right? You're never going to hear someone else's music the way they hear their own music, and it's the same
totally,
thing with yeah.
absolutely.
Uh, Tell me about new stuff. You said you started putting together instrumental
Yeah,
parts.
yeah, totally. So yeah, we
Well,
just jamming on just new ideas that have been coming to me, and it's for the most part been, the three of us, like Laura, Ryan, and I jamming on that stuff, like with all of the the numbers going up and down and whatnot. Ben and his wife were playing it super safe and not going out a whole lot during that, and we totally respected that. So we didn't see a lot of Ben throughout the whole year, but we would send him things, email him what we're working on and things like that. But yeah, like some of it's every one of the new ones is something different to what we've done before. It's all different. Some of it's like lower, heavier kind of shit. Some of it's like, I don't know how to describe it, like Zeppelin-y kind of like epic-y kind of, not acoustic, but weird, clean kind of weird
mhm.
chords and stuff. And some of it's like super thrash metal stuff, and it's all over the place. But we have a lot of different facets of things that are in us, you know what I mean? And we're just, expressing them. So we'll see what actually makes the cut, you know.
I think that I think that's come across on the two records so far too. A lot of different ideas sort of swirling around. And one of the things that Circle of Days does really well is make them flow. You know,
Cool.
and in you know, if I didn't know it was you sort of at root in the songs, I would almost think it was multiple songwriters, right? And I know everybody has their parts and
Yeah.
their effect on the songs, and I'm hearing the finished product rather than your demos. But I mean, Hornet Party and then Eye in the Sky. It's far enough apart that it sounds like it could come from multiple people.
Totally. Yeah.
So good on you, I guess.
All right. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been like that. Like, I mean, I even have stuff that I've written or write that's completely off of anything we would do. You know what I mean? Like the inspiration that comes, it's from all over the place sometimes.
Like what?
I
What
mean,
wouldn't you do?
well, I mean, we're not going to do a funk song or like an R&B fucking thing. I mean, maybe, but
Why not?
yeah, maybe, maybe we will, but maybe, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what people accept, how far we can push it, and if people still accept it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
do you think about audience when you write?
Yes and no. Like, I mean, no, because I when I write, I'm not thinking about anything. I'm just playing what comes to me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, as far as like when we're crafting it, I guess, I'm thinking about if people are going to like it, or what I think people will think, or but yeah, not necessarily though. I mean, most of the time when I'm writing, it's shit that just comes to me. It's like I'm tuning into whatever, a lot of times it's when I wake up in the morning and I hear something in my head. I always have a guitar right next to my bed, and often before I've even done anything or barely even opened my eyes, I pick up my guitar and just start fucking noodling and playing. And 9 times out of 10, that's when the most brilliant shit comes, because it's not even my brain trying to come up with something. It's just something coming through that I wouldn't have been able to think of, to be honest.
Right. Barely conscious.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah. And then it goes through the filter of the band, if they like it or not, you know what I mean? And then, once it makes it through that filter, then you just hope that everybody else fucking likes it,
Yeah. I guess that's how it goes. Yeah. I'm going to ask you to stop the recording, since I'm not actually doing the recording.
Okay.
So before you stop the recording, so get ready to stop the recording. I'm going to cue you. You ready?
Yeah.
Thank you, Eddie, again for taking the time to talk and for doing the recording, since I apparently couldn't handle it. So stop the recording. Don't end the meeting.